and welcome to the Zwift Race Place. I'm Cade Fravel, and today we're going to be covering the BRT Thunder and Lightning series. This week, it's on the Seaside sprint course. So I'm looking forward to this one. I've actually just done this course recently, so I have a couple of course insights. And let's get into the pre-show now. And first, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Russell Maidment. Once again, Russell Maidment, shout out to him, mid-level C racer, and he said the only reason he's signing up today is so that he could maybe get a shout out on the stream. It was a joke, but I wanted to make sure to give him a shout out anyway, make it worthwhile for him. Alright, so you can see that we're currently waiting in the D pens right now. They're 12 minutes and 30 seconds out from their start, but first, we're going to take a look at the Velo Viewer, the elevation profile, and some of last week's results before we get into the race. So I'm looking forward to all of that, and let's start with our Velo Viewer here. Alright, so you can see this is the Seaside sprint from, this is Zwift Insider verified, and my start and finish icons are in the wrong place. So I'll see if I can get that fixed. Just ignore the start and finish icons. But this course starts in Watopia. There's a bit of a lead-in, and we'll be able to see more of this on the elevation profile. But it starts on Watopia, and you lead in to the twisties over in Watopia. And then from there, you head over through the sprint banner. That's the green sprint banner, right after the twisties. Then up to the Italian villas, out and through the volcano, and then back to the twisties again. And we're doing 4 laps of that today. So it'll be an exciting race. And now over to the elevation profile here. You can see where we start in downtown Watopia there. Then it's that descent down. You go through the banner, so we'll have riders getting power-ups there. Then back up to the twisties. You can see the little elevation changes. That's through the twisties right there. And then up to the Italian villas, through the volcano, and back to our start point. So that's the lap for today. And the other thing that I wanted to note was that this week, BRT has changed start times around a little bit. So yes, we are going to have the Ds still starting at 18 o'clock GMT like always. But this week, instead of having the Cs go 3 minutes later, the Cs follow 7 minutes later. So big difference there. And then after the C's, only 2 minutes to the B's. Another change there that was 3 minutes previously. And then from our B's to our A's, it's another 2 minutes. So once again, the gaps are 7 to 2 D, C, B, A. And that's going to be interesting because our C's have had an advantage throughout the entire series. They've won both races so far. Just to clarify, for those of you who are new to this series, it's category v category, chase race style. The category with their 6th rider over the line first wins. C's have won both so far, and then there's also a team competition within each category. It's a lot going on, but it makes for some super exciting racing. So as I was saying, the C's have been dominating. They've won both races so far, but this week, the 7-minute gap to our D category could change that up. And in just a minute, I'm going to take a look at the results, but also the fact that it's only 2 minutes from the B's to the C's, because the B's and C's have been pretty close in the past, and the B's, I think they can close 2 minutes. It's going to be tough, but I think they've got a shot. It's going to make it all much more exciting this week, now that we've got these changed up time gaps. All right, let's head on over to our results page. We can take a look here in the overall, really leading everywhere is Team BRT, the organizers of this series. So congrats to them for the commanding lead in all categories. They've got about 200 points, over 200 points in the overall right now. Team Italy follows with 104. They've got a pretty commanding lead over the BWCC in 3rd place. And then from there, it's really small gaps, really tight. BWCC is tied with TBE at 49 points. Cyclonauts following 1 point behind with 48. IRL with 47. Once again, only 1 point behind. Then 42-40, 38-36 for TFC, FCCC, SDW, and STW. Over in the Cat A, BRT once again leading by quite a lot, but we've got some pretty close gaps with Team Cryogen in second with 49. TMA third on 47, only a 2-point gap there, and then only 2 points back to Dolce Vita in fourth place. So that'll be a good race to watch in the Cat A. WL Try looks like they're sitting on 30 points currently. No, it looks like they're sitting on 90. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with that. I did take these results maybe before they were entirely done, so I apologize to that. But from there, it looks like RWCA Hoy sitting on 41, only 1 point ahead of Hino RT. That's Vicky Nealon's team. She's the Hino RT rider in the A race with 40. From there, it's 39, 38, and then it looks like 80 points. So some of these points not quite sorted out just yet. Over in the Cat B, once again, BRT is leading, this time by around 250 points. Impressive lead there, followed by TBE on 85. FCCC on 65. Pretty good lead for the TBE team in second place there. That's 20 points. And then down to DBR on 60. Team CLS with 48. Some bigger gaps in this race. And then here you see it starts to get close again. Team CLS on 48. Baudre on 47. SDW 46. And then Chalk, FFZ, and Gen X are all tied with 43 points. It's a really tight race here in the Cat B. Over in Cat C, once again, BRT with a commanding lead. In Team Italy, they're our second place overall team, have also got a nice number of points in the Cat C. Nice lead over the FCCC with 63. Then only 3 points from FCCC to TFC. That's 63 to 60. Bigger gap down to BWCC with 49, and then Cyclonaut sitting on 47. 46 for IRL, STW, and Team CLS both have 36, and BAEK, that's the 34 points there. You can see 10th place on the bottom of your leaderboard. I only included the top 10 for all of these categories, so obviously the leaderboards go much farther down, except for the D race. That's the entirety of the leaderboard there. Alright, so over in Cat D, BRT leading with 276 points today. TNACC with 50, that's a big gap, over 250 points from BRT to TNACC. Then FCCC in third with 47, that's only 3-point gap, so pretty close there. Slightly larger gap to Bike Link on 38, about 10 more points to Team Type 1 on 29, and then Team Type 1 and Peta Z are both within a point of each other, 29 points and 28 points with Team Type 1 leading. So congrats to all of our team for all the great racing in the past. They're doing a great job. You can see the BRT with the commanding leads all across the board, but there are some really exciting races between teams in some other places. All right, let's check in on our D-Pens and see what's happening over there. Looks like we've got about 5 minutes to start. I'm going to see if I can figure out who we're going to jump in with over in the D race, but in the meantime, I want you guys to let us know which category you think will win over in the live chat. So, will it be the A's set off an entire 11 minutes after the D's? Our B category set off 2 minutes before the A's? Our C category set off 2 minutes before the B's? Or our D set off a whole 7 minutes ahead of their chasers in the C category? Let us know over in the live chat. And it looks like we've got Geminisa rooting for the Badgers. The Badgers is a BRT team, I believe. So thanks to Geminisa for letting us know who she's rooting for over in the live chat, or he. I'm not entirely sure. Follow that example while I figure out which D rider we're going to be jumping in with today. You can see I'm in the D pens. Let's see if we can get a front view of these riders here. Zoom in. Looks like about 23 riders today. With the launch of the new 3R Endurance Series, we lost a couple riders there, but it looks like we still got a good turnout in the D pens. Howell Stuff says won't be A's. I wouldn't count them out quite yet. I think that's probably a good bet from Howell Stuff, but we'll just have to see. Signups were looking a little bit skimpy in the A category when I last checked, but not too late for our A racers, and we'll see if they can pull it back. I know we're approaching 3 minutes to start here, so I'm just going to see if I can jump in with one of these riders. I'm going to check over on Zwift Power for which D I want to jump in with here. Another thing I want to note is the appearance of the SDW team this week. I was talking with one of the SDW riders ahead of last week's race, Julian Fussell. He started racing, and now we've got a bunch more SDW riders in this race, so I'd watch out for them. Strong team, and it looks like they've brought some more riders across the board. Donald Grant from the SDW is the top-ranked rider in the D category. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and jump in with Will Maskery from the BRT. All right, here we go. This is Will Maskery, and we're now 2.5 minutes to the start of the D race. We'll be with our Ds for a little while because it's a whole 7 minutes before any of our other categories get out on course. Let's see if Howell Stuff has anything else to say about their prediction that it won't be the A's. Actually, speaking of the A's, let's check in on their signups over in the A category on Zwift Power. So I'm going to check in with the A's. It looks like we are lacking two big hitters in the A category today, both Howell Davies. I'm thinking that might be Howell Stuff over in the chat. Howell Stuff in the chat, let us know if you're Howell Davies. And also Vicky Nealon. Those were two riders that we were watching out for. Looking over to our live chat in-game, it looks like Will Maskery trying to organize something here. If you're feeling good, push to the front. If you're feeling tired, drop back and let the others take their turn. Looks like he's trying to target more the category competition, category v category this week, and he's in a good place to do so, as are all of the other BRT riders, because they've really got this series locked up in terms of the team competition. So BRT can throw all of their efforts into trying to win in the category v category competition as opposed to the team competition. Let's check in. No updates from Howell Stuff, but I'm going to go on a limb and say that that is Howell Davies over in our live chat. All right. We are just about a minute out from the start right now. This should be an exciting start. Last week, we saw a couple Ds go off the front, some flyers in this race, and that did not help them out in the long run. They ended up getting caught, beat out by the C category, and I believe the B category as well. So we'll just have to see if our Ds can be a little bit smarter with their strategy this week. If we see some flyers again, could mean the end of it for the D category. Those riders who are strong enough to go off the front need to be working on the front of the main D pack, helping pull them around the course. As with all categories, if they're looking to win in this category competition, we are now approaching 20 seconds to the start. Before we start, I do want to remind you to like this video and subscribe to the Zwift Race Place for more live race coverage, community coaching tips, and general Zwift knowledge. We'll be back with the BRT Thunder and Lightning series every Saturday. It's a great race series, and if I do say so myself, pretty fun to watch. All right, here we go. The Bs are off, and we are with Will Maskery from the BRT. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Just have to see who else is going to take the initiative, try and get these Ds together and organized. And it looks like right now we don't have any flyers. Last week, the one thing that we did see was that it was a group of 5 going off the front, which meant that the 6th rider, the one that decides who wins in the long run, was located in the main pack. Looks like we got a couple riders breaking away from the rest of the group here, but enough where they still have a shot. We're going to be with the Ds for 7 whole minutes this week because of the fact that it's such a long wait for our C riders. But that should just go into making the race more exciting in the long run. We'll just have to see what kind of catches happen, if any. Maybe our Ds can stay away this week. Looks like they're getting organized here. There's a split in the pack if you check the mini-map in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Some riders falling off the back of this front pack, and then a group of riders well off the back of this front group. But now that your Bs have gone off, this will be, we may even get to see, oh boy, looks like a dropout from Will Maskery. Dropped down to 5 watts for a minute there. He's sprinting hard to try and get back on, but I think that might have been it for Will Maskery. It'll be tough for him to try and get back onto this group, and I don't think that they'll wait for him. They've got enough riders to do it and manage to hold their own. I think this is the strongest group of riders right here, and they're doing much better than they were last week, much more organized this week, it seems. Maybe riders realizing that after last week, there's no way that they can win it with flyers off the front. They got to stay together and work as a team. P. Bone now, we're watching the Italian rider, pushing around 3 watts per kilograms, as is the rest of this field. They're all hovering around 3.2 watts per kilograms. And now that they're a minute and a half in, we are approaching the 5 minutes to go mark for our C riders. They, of course, are going off 5 minutes after the Ds. Changed that around this week. The other thing that you'll notice just for later on is that riders are wearing corresponding jerseys. So Ds will be in yellow, Cs in blue, Bs in green, A's in red. And I think that was a smart call from the BRT to assign those jerseys because it makes it so much easier to tell who you are racing against. That was one of my favorite things about the changes from last week. And now the changes from this week with the different start times. I think that this race series has just gotten better over time. They've worked out the kinks, and today should be an exciting day of racing as our Ds are just over 2 minutes in to the competition now. The other thing to note is the course. This is it'll be the beginning of laps from now on. The lead-in was from where we started in the pens to kind of the beginning of the twisties there, right when we reached the intersection where you could go right, left, or kind of straight. And these twisties, they don't benefit lighter riders as much. It's more suited towards heavier riders in terms of twisties. Easier for them to stay in the group. I see a couple of BRT names here. And the other thing to note is the finish line, which we will be approaching for the first time in just a couple of minutes. Obviously, not the real finish line, but the same banner that marks the finish line. And it's an interesting sprint. You're coming into it pretty fast. You come right off of a downhill. But that also means that there's a little bit of a climb right before the sprint. Interesting to see what categories do right there. And if we'll see a sprint between categories or a sprint between riders in a category. And my guess is that we'll see some of both. Just depends on how close our B, C, D, and A categories are coming down into the finish. Here we go. This is one of the biggest climbs out on this course. It's a fairly flat course, but you are pretty much always going up and down. 3% gradient, negative 3% gradient. That's basically the gist of this course. After the top here, they're going to descend down in, take a left, head over the bridge, and the sprint banner is right at the end of the bridge, as you'll see in just a minute. That's where we'll be finishing today. And it looks like just a little split in the pack now. P. Bone, now the 6th rider on the road. That's the rider that counts in this series, as the 6th rider is the one that decides who wins in terms of a category competition. The other thing to note is that not all of these riders will be signed up on Zwift Power, and therefore not all of them will even be part of the team competition. Looks like a couple more riders able to bridge up here, so now we've got decent sized group here. All right, this was the final sprint that I was talking about, and this is where the riders will be sprinting to the line. That's the finish line banner right there, that green banner. Not a standard Zwift finish banner, but it is the way that this week's this week's course works out. See Bryn Griffith in the chat. Go Cat Bees. I know he was just upgraded recently. I think Bryn, the race organizer of this event, and I think he hurt his back this week, so feel better soon to Bryn Griffith over in the chat. And hopefully we'll see him out there racing again next week. All right, back to the D race now. I do want to note that clock just hit 5 minutes in. 5 minutes elapsed time means that we're only 2 minutes out from the start of the C race. And our C's are the category to watch out there today. 2 wins under their belt, so C's are going to be the ones that could do it again. I think that, honestly, if I'm going to choose my favorite for this week, I'm going to put my money on the B race. We've seen them close easily those 2 minutes to the C's before. They're usually racing at around 30 seconds left to the C category when they're coming down into the finish, and it's just hard for them to close it. But I think that we can see them close down that 2 minutes, and it might be the B's turn for a win out there today. The A's did not have as many signups, which I think is going to hurt them in the long run. And right now, our D's not too organized. I hate to say it, but I think it might have been smarter to allow a couple more riders to come with this front group. Just have to see what's happening here. Also see some B riders popping up on the leaderboards. I think that's just because we can see them. We're on the same route as the pens now. So that's just the distance to the pens for anybody who's curious about that. All right, so back to kind of our course analysis, because we will be doing 4 laps of this. We just came from the sprint banner up through the Italian villas, down that little descent, and now it's on the dirt roads out to the volcano. Once we hit the volcano, it's a little kicker up to get into the volcano. You go through the volcano and tie back in with the twisties after you've completed the volcano. So that's what we have left for lap 1 in the B race, and we are now just under 30 seconds out from the start to the C's. See if I can pull up one of our C riders to jump in with out on course. All right, just going to check in our C Racing Zwift Power signups. And Patrick Harvey is signed up this week, so he's going to be the rider that we jump in with. BRT rider there, and also super fast. We've seen him taking some pulls on the front in the past. It'll be interesting to see if maybe he targets the sprint this week. He's a strong sprinter. Oh, and here we go. We are in with Patrick Harvey and the C's, and they are cutting through the grass right now. Not entirely sure what that was at all, if I'm being honest. Never seen that happen before. But okay, and they are still on the cement now. Just went through a lamppost. I think this might be a Zwift glitch or something along those lines. I'm not sure if that's just me or everybody in the race, to be honest. Okay, wow, look at the mini-map right now. Riders are all side by side. That's not usually something you see. They're riding on the wrong side of the road here. That was unexpected, to say the least. And it looks like we've got big gaps towards the front. Riders have gone clear off the front, and it's not like Patrick Harvey to be that far back in a race. I think that something must have happened with that start, because we saw how discombobulated it was. Riders on the wrong side of the road, riding through the cement, not on the road, period. And now Patrick Harvey well off the back. That is not where you usually see Patrick Harvey from the BRT. He's definitely a strong rider. Looks like this pack is coming back together a little bit, but this might have just disrupted the rhythm in the confidence of the C race a little. They're coming off of 2 wins, but having a strange start like that could do something to the mindset of some of our C riders here. And also the fact that some of the strongest, biggest hitters out there today might be well off the back. Even if you look at the mini-map right now, you can still see riders riding side by side. Not something you usually see on a Zwift mini-map. So we'll just have to wait and see if that sorts itself out. All right, here we are. 2 minutes elapsed time. That means it's time for the start of the B race already. I'm going to go back through the C category here just a little bit, though. Try and see where... All right, looks like Patrick Harvey has made it back into the front group. He's sitting in 8th place now. But see if any of the riders are still experiencing those problems where they're having trouble riding in the right order. Just heading back through to the back of this category. It looks like they've sort of sorted themselves out. Hoping... All right, time to jump in with our B racers here, I think, though. So heading over to the B race signups, the rider I'm going to be jumping in with is going to be Przemysław Jerzy's. Not going to try and pronounce that, actually. But anyway, an SDW rider here. We're going to see if we can jump in with him and the rest of the Bs out on course. And then we'll see if we can take a look at some of the Zwift Power live data, because that's where we can see all of our gaps out on course. All right, here we go. We're in with our Bs, and Jers is on the front of this race right now with the SDW Wasps. Rob Burden says, I'm hiding in green. I'm wondering if he's up in the C category already. And there you go. Look at the gaps already to the back of the C category. We just saw about 1 minute and 18 seconds, meaning that those dropped riders are within 1.5 minutes away from the front of our B category right now. That's a pretty big development, because they may be closing that gap pretty fast. I'm going to jump in with the live data now, see what I can see. I think that the addition of some of these SDW riders to this group will be big. We've seen SDW riders on the front already here, and it looks like the gaps right now, the last that Zwift Power updated was over 2 minutes from the C's to the B's. But that doesn't mean that it'll stay that way, and the Bs already look like they may be closing on some of our C riders back there. So this will be an interesting race, and now that we are over 2 minutes, we just had the start of the A's as well. I feel like I'm jumping around like crazy. We had a while with our Ds there, but now Yeah, Bryn Griffith says in the chat, sees cheating going through the grass. I know, I don't think that they meant to, but for some reason, just a Zwift bug, I guess. That'll be an interesting one. Maybe even have to put out a video just showing that weird glitch in Zwift, and it'll be interesting to see if anybody else had that problem. So if you're in the chat right now and you're racing in the C category, let us know if that's the way it appeared on your screen as well, because that was a strange bug. All right, let's look at the gaps again. We're going to get an update in just about right now. Gaps still not updated, so we'll wait until those are a little bit more developed. But I'm going to head over to our signups now, and let's see who we're going to jump in with in the A race. A couple of stopped C riders out there on the road, so don't have to worry about them. Let's see, in the A race, we're going to jump in with Joe Perot from the BZR SPSD Esports Squad. Believe that's the Belgian Zwift riders. Joe Perot is riding for. Waiting for this to load up here. Alright, does not look like this BZR rider is out on course right now. So we're going to take a different attack, try and jump in with Felipe Afonso. Felipe Afonso from JIC Racing. Here we go. Nope, unable to jump in with him either. I'm wondering what's wrong. I've been unable to jump in with any of our A racers out on course. So we're going to try and see if we can get in with Nicholas Heinmark from the Swedish Swifters. I apologize for this. Be in with our A race as soon as possible. Alright, Sigurd Gimre. Is not riding. Alright, so I think we're having a bit of a bug with our A race as well. I'll see if I can get in with them in manually later on. But for now, let's go over back with our Zwift Power Live data, see if we can see the gaps out on course. Because not getting confirmation that our A started either on Zwift Power. So this is a little bit strange. And the gaps also still not updating. So we'll just have to wait and see if that sorts itself out here. In the meantime, we can hang out with our Bs for a little while here. We're still with Jers from the SDW here. Let's see who else is in the B race. And also, this is where we last saw the C race. Or sorry, this is where we last left the D race. We'll have to check in and see where they are on course. Because the other thing I wonder is if we'll almost... 7 minutes is nearly enough time to do an entire lap for our A racers and B racers. I don't think it's likely that we'll see anybody lapping any other categories, but definitely some dropped riders will get lapped, I think, in here. Already C riders getting swept up. All right, let's move up with the C category and then see where the front of their race is out on course right now. Looks like only 55 riders in the Cs, which is unprecedented for this race. I think, once again, the 3R Endurance Series might have taken away from signups this week. I know a lot of riders were excited about that. But I have a feeling we'll see some more signups again next week. M. Chattel is on the front right now, and the C race is getting a little bit broken apart. I don't know. I think that this might be the week that the C racers finally lose. Not to say it like that. I don't care which category wins. But I think that this might be the week that the C racers end up losing because they are not very organized right now. We've got a couple flyers off the front. The Bs have a shorter gap to close, and they are closing it quite fast, in fact. Right now, B's showing up ahead of C's on the leaderboard, so I'm not 100% on that either. Gaps are a little tough this week because of the fact that Zwift Power is having a hard time updating. Zwift is having a hard time figuring things out, but I'll try and do my best with these gaps here. I see Julian Fussell is in the B race. I was talking about him earlier also. And these riders here are off the front of the C category now. Patrick Harvey doing the chasing from behind, but he's second back now. I don't know if Chattel and I Am the Jordy USA are going to try for a little breakaway here. I'm not sure that either of them registered on Zwift Power or riding for an actual team, so I don't know that they have much to gain from the team competition. But I don't know. just have to see what's happening here. Gonna switch over to our full screen Zwift review now that we're in the race full time, and I apologize for not doing that sooner. I've just been wrapped up in this race because there's been a lot of exciting things going on here. The D's off to a good start. Better than I expected, I have to admit. The C's a little discombobulated here. Also with strange glitches in the early parts of today's race. Our B's seem pretty organized. I think this might be the week that they could do it. And I've been unable to jump in with the A race at all for some reason. So, a lot happening here out on course. And let's see if we can jump in with some of our D riders here. I'm going to head over and see who's leading out in the D category. All right. Do we have an update on the live gaps? Nope. And still no data. I think Zwift Power is just struggling with this race. But I can maybe see from... Here we go. I Am the Droidy USMES is registered on Zwift Power, and he is currently riding 6 minutes and 27 seconds behind the D's. Once again, that's 6 minutes and 27 seconds gap from our front C's to our front D's. They still have a lot of work to do if they want to close down the entirety of that 7 minutes, and I'm starting to wonder if it's going to happen. Meanwhile, leading out the D's, it looks like Fabian Grassini's up there. I'm going to try and jump out with him on course. See what the D category is doing right now. Fabian Grassini, and I don't see a team next to his name, but he is registered on Zwift Power. So we'll just have to see Fabian Grassini. Alright, we're just waiting for this to load in. Here we go, Fabian Grassini. We are in with the D race, and I see the A racers behind them. I'm not sure if this is a catch here or not. I think it might be. This does not seem right, to be honest. Seems hard for our A racers to close 11 minutes in that short of a time. But it appears that this is the correct race, and riders now kind of merging together. I see Ellie Spink from the BRT in this small B group here on the road. This is where our B's are out on course, but it seems like something fishy might be going on with the A race now. A Maruzu from 2163 leading out our A's, and they're pushing a fast pace. They've been catching some of our B riders, some of our D riders, and I'm just not sure if that's correct. Let's see, what place is Wold Heuvel in? Not sure if these are dropped riders or the actual leaders. Here we go. Wold Heuvel is leading the D race, and he has just been caught by our A riders. That means that our D's have just been moved into last place. But theoretically, I'm thinking that our D's are on their second lap, whereas our A's are still on their first, which means they still have a whole lap to make up. This whole 4-lap thing is going to end up being a little confusing for me, I think. Here we go. Howell Davies says, struggling with connections today. Drop out in 3R, drop out in the A pen. All right, sorry about that, Howell. I think Zwift in general has been a little haywire today. But I think that the news now is that our A racers have just seen our D racers out on course. I don't believe that was the catch. But we'll just have to wait and see if Zwift Power live data ends up updating, because that will give us the real breakdown on what's happening out on course. I think that our Ds are, well, now no longer a lap ahead of our As, but I think that they were at the time of the catch, which explains what's happening here. And if anybody else has any insight on this, just let me know over in the live chat what's happening here. Alright, let's see if I can try and reload up this Zwift Power live data, because we're definitely having some issues here. Alright, here we go. Now looking, the A racers still not being shown out on course anywhere, which is strange, and gaps remaining the same as I said before. So I think that's just an error on Zwift Power's part. And I'm going to do my best to keep up with what's happening out on course without Zwift Power here, because it seems like that's currently down. Also notice that we're having a couple of problems with our encoder right now, so stay tuned. I'll be working to iron out some of those technical difficulties out on course here. But in the meantime, I'm going to look over with our A race because they are pushing hard on course right now. E. Moser from the C3R team is up there. A. Groman in the middle of the A pack pushing 9 watts per kilos to close down this gap. I think our A's are really determined this week. This is their week to do it. See Craig Christie from the BRT Badgers a little farther up. He races in the D category. But our A's are moving pretty fast, 24 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour here. And that was on a slight incline. Now that they're on the flats, they're pushing up to 27 miles an hour. It's hard as they're in the twisties right now, but they are moving pretty fast, and I think that our A's might have a shot today. Sorry, Hubble Stuff, I'm going to contradict what you said in the chat earlier, because our A's seem to be doing pretty well. Once again, apologizing for the lagging from the encoder. Bit of an encoding overload for a minute there. I'm hoping that that ends up sorting itself out, and I'll do my best to keep the stream up and running. All right, but anyway, E. Moser from C3R pushing 4 watts per kilos here. Our A's are on a mission today. Let's see if we can jump in farther up through the B race, see what our lead B's are doing right now. Smaller categories this week, as I mentioned before. Jay McDonald sitting... Here we go. Julian Fussell from the SDW Wasps. And this means that we're up with the front group. Julian Fussell here, sitting on the back of this one. We see some other SDW riders here, and they are making the catch on a C rider there. Lots of C riders have been dropped from this front C group, and our B's are just eating them up out on course today. I apologize for the lack of gaps. As I said before, Zwift Power is down right now. I'm having a hard time getting any data from Zwift Power. Jay Allen says approximately 1 minute and 30, so I'll take his word for it. I'm going to report 1 minute and 30 as the gap from our B's to our C's right now. And they are just about 15 minutes into the race. I'd assume that this is lap 2 for our B racers out there. Our Burden, another SDW rider out on course, has just started to pull off the front a little bit. Jay Allen from the BRT, E. Kawoka is up here as well. These riders all trying to close down that gap. Make sure that they stay working hard on the front, but not pulling away. I'm not sure if Burden is going for a little bit of a team effort, not a team effort, but an effort for the team category here, or if he is working for the category of the B's, trying to beat the C's right now. There we go. It looks like a group of C's are about 23 seconds ahead of the B's. That's not the lead group, but it's a fair-sized group, and maybe once we get through some of these other dropped riders, we can see the official results, or the official gaps from our B's to our C's. I'm going to keep working on our technical difficulties as well as trying to get these gaps for you right now. If anybody wants to just let me know in the live chat that you can still see the stream, because I'm getting some error messages here on my end, that would be great. Thank you. Just kind of give me an update on what's happening here, because I'm honestly not sure. All right, looks like I am the Geordie. That's the D rider from the USMES. Here we go. Patch Harvey. Gaps from Patch Harvey to E. Kawoka here look like 1 minute and 3 seconds. Patrick Harvey just sitting around 1 minute and 6 now ahead of the B's. So I can tell you our B's are closing on the C's at a fairly rapid rate. They're looking at about 1 minute now. That's half of their initial deficit. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the B's catch the C's here today. They're catching another C group right now out on course, actually. You can see that group of C's just ahead here. And I think this is our second group of C's out on course that they're catching. Let's see if we can, sorry about that. Just moving through the category here. You can see the tag on Julian Fussell there. These riders overtaking our C's. The C's are those blue jerseys and the B's are the green. Pretty easy to see. And good job to BRT for getting those jersey colors sorted out, because that makes my job a lot easier. All right. Here we go. They're just heading out of the volcano now, and you can see a lot of C's trying to tack onto the back of this B group. If they could hang in with the B's, that might not be a bad strategy. Get a free ride around for a little bit. I don't know that they'll be able to stay with it, though. It'll all just come down to how hard the B's are pushing at the front, and I'll try and keep my eye on the gaps here. So, moving up through the field, it looks like I can see... All right. My gaps have changed around a little bit, so I cannot get you the gaps from the B's to the C's right now. Just trying to use the Zwift companion app for everything right now, which can be challenging as Zwift power is down, and that's where I usually get my data from. But I'm going to try and head up with the C's right now. See if we can find them out on course. Looks like some riders in the middle there. There we go. I can see the gap. This is our lead C's, 1:05, and the B's are now on their leaderboard in their sights in terms of the leaderboard, I should say. Looks like it's sitting right around a minute for the B's, which is not bad. They can close that down. As our C's are just starting lap 3, this is going to be an exciting race. It's about 2 laps down, 2 laps to go, and the gap has been cut in half. That's perfect. I think we might even be seeing a sprint between the C's and the B's on the line if we're looking at this kind of consistent closing of the gap. It's pretty perfect in terms of a ratio. So if our B's just pick up the pace a little bit, I think they could have this one. They could take the title away from the C's for once, and we can see some D's out there on course as well. I'm going to see if I can get you those gaps, because that's the other gap we need to watch. Our C's won't be the winner unless they can catch our leading B's, which could be a tall task for them this week. They've got a whole 7 minutes to close. 7 minutes was the gap this week, and it looks like I'm unable to get those gaps right now, but once I can see a reference point kind of here on the Zwift companion app, I'll try and get you those gaps. Or just once our C's close that down a little bit. They've got about a lap and a half left to do that, so they're going to have to start picking up the pace on the front if they want to not only catch the D's, but also stay away from the B's. It's pretty exciting out there right now, and I know we just stopped in with our A's for a minute. I apologize for not spending more time on them, but either way, I think they're pushing a really high pace this week. We'll have to see what they can do in terms of that gap from the B's to the A's. All very exciting, and I wish I had my Zwift Power Live data working right now, because it would be great to see some official gaps, but I can just go on what I'm seeing from the Zwift companion app and the standard Zwift screen that you're all seeing right now. Checking in on Zwift Power, it looks like gaps have still not updated, so I apologize for that. Zwift Power has been down a lot in the recent months, ever since it was taken over by Zwift, it seems. So, hopefully that gets sorted out soon. All right, here we go. Harvey sitting in 10th place overall. This is going to be the finish line where our riders finish in just about a lap and a half. Watch this carefully, because this is going to be the stage for your finish. They come into it fast, coming off of that little descent there. Then it's over the bridge, and you can see the green finishing banner right up there in the distance. There's a small group of D's ahead of the C riders here, and I'm not sure who it is. I'm going to see if I can check up there. Patrick Harvey pushing hard here. Who are these D riders? Looks like there's still a minute. So it looks like our D riders in around 18th place right now are about a minute ahead of the C's, an easily closable gap for the C's, but that's not the lead group quite yet. So that'll be the next carrot for our C's to watch for. The next group that our C's have a chance of catching, they're just sweeping up a couple of drop D riders there right now. I think that our C riders that's definitely the category to watch today. Our B's, they're going to be close too, though. It's just going to come down to what happens in those final couple of miles. This is still on lap 3 for our C's now. They're just over halfway through that lap now, and I'm going to see if I can head back with the B's. This is what I believe is our leading... Yep, this is the leading B group, and we're in with an SDW rider right here. See if I can get on the front, because our C's might be in sight. Give me a minute here, but I think that this could be the catch coming up pretty soon. This is lap 3 for the B's, I believe. They're 21 minutes in, 10 miles in, and our C's are just ahead of them, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to check in with that, because if this is the catch of the C race, that would be very exciting. Yep. Where are these riders standing right now? These riders currently 15th. So this is your lead C pack, and if we look back, we might even be able to get a glimpse of the B riders coming on. We'll stay with this view for a little while. Zoom out, maybe see if we can see that gap coming down. The B's still a little ways away. I'm going to adjust the mini-map view here to see if we can see them. There we go. Our B's are in sight of the C's on the mini-map. If you zoom out like this, it's really not too far. They're on the same stretch of road here, and you can see them coming in the distance. That gap has come down quite a bit. Raymond Connor says, "Go C's" over in the chat. I think it might be the end for the C's, to be honest. It's going to be close. The B's are really going to have to start stepping up the pace if they want to catch them before this lap is over. I think that they have it before the end of the race, but I don't know what to say. Our C's have come from behind before. They had a bit of a problem coming into the start of this race. For those of you who were not with us, they were riding through the grass and the concrete. Not sure if that benefited them or ended up hurting them, but either way, it was a strange start. And there we go. The B's have popped up on the leaderboard. The gap is 12 seconds. And I think that this new adjustment to the start times has made a big difference. Our B's now easily within range of the C category. I'm going to head back to our standard view here because we're coming through some of these little archways. If we move to the back of the C group, maybe we can get an eye on that gap again. Here we go. The gap, 9 seconds now. 9 seconds, and you can see the B's on the mini-map. This is going to be the catch that you're witnessing right here. Our lead B group catching our lead C's. This is going to be the final day for our C's. They've won 2 so far, but it's time to hand it over to what may be the B's and maybe the D's. The D's are still out. The D's are still out front, which is something that I think a lot of people might have forgotten about. That might be my fault. I haven't really been focusing on it. But the D's, they still need to be caught before we can declare the B's the winner today. And there we go. P. Campbell leading it out from the BRT. He's heading through this C group here, sitting in first for the B's currently. This is going to be the catch of the race. I think they've got the D's within their grasps now. But this is pretty exciting here. I did not think that the catch was going to happen this soon, but the B's really stepped it up on the pace today. So congrats to the B's. They've just made the catch. The D's are still out front by a little ways. As I said before, my Zwift power's down, so I'm not seeing those official gaps, but I'll keep working with the Zwift companion app to see if I can get you those gaps. And there we go. That might be, I believe that's the second D group out on the road. You can see them popping up on the leaderboard now. 28 seconds to that group here. Let's jump in with some of these D riders now. This is D James. We'll see where these riders are sitting out on course. As soon as I can get that update there. All right, this looks like the second group out on course, 16th place right now. So if our B's can close down this, then it's just the lead D group left to catch. And those lead Ds are going to be the ones containing the 6th rider in the D group, and that is the rider that ends up ultimately counting. Look at this, the C race making a little bit of a comeback. They're trying to stay out in front of the B's or at least ride with them. If they can get 6 riders to stay in this pack, the C's are still in this because their 6th rider could potentially beat the 6th B rider over the line. It sounds technical, but in the end, if 6 C's can survive, they still have a shot at the win is basically what it comes down to. A lot of stuff happening in the live chat right now. Looks like Jamie Watson says save yourself for Tuesday pass, but I'm assuming that that's Patch as in Patrick Harvey. Yep, there we go. There's the correction. Raymond Connor's a bit upset about this catch, but Raymond Connor, don't count your C's out yet. As I was saying, if 6 of them can survive, they still have a shot at the finish. And right now, I do see 6 blue jerseys still in this pack. The B's may pick up the pace a little, try and catch that D group, try and drop some of these C's, but for now, the C's are not out of it yet. Yeah, Bryn Griffith says D's still a long way ahead. Shame ZP has died yet again. And it is, but I think we'll do our best without Zwift power here. And I apologize, we're having a bit of a problem with our encoding, which is what's bringing on this lagging little section here. So I hope we can get through this in just a minute. I think we've got a lot of riders riding together here. And my old laptop's having a little bit of trouble with this. But I'll try and keep you up to date on all of that. And I apologize for the lagging. All right. See Alet right now in the BRT squad. I'm going to try and head back, see if we can catch up with the A's, because they're a category that we have seemed to have forgotten about a little bit here. for some reason, I'm having a hard time jumping in with any of them on Zwift Companion. So I'm going to just kind of scroll back through the race here. See S. Brooks from the BRT. All these riders still out on course are dropped from the lead B pack now. It's interesting to see how many C's ended up surviving, though, because that was pretty impressive from the C race. Now we can settle in a little bit. I think our B's just need to hold a steady pace now, and there we go. I see our A's out on course. This is I Mulligan, and judging by where they are on course, I'd say it's going to be tough for them to make the catch. See, Nathan Guerra was active in the live chat just a couple minutes ago. Nice to have a Zwift celebrity over in the live chat. So, shout out to Nathan. But back to the race here. It looks like they're just coming through the volcano banner now, and as our B's and C's are approaching 1 lap to go, I think it's going to be tough for our A's to close down the rest of this gap. It's decent sized. I just think that with the numbers that they have right now, it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders have even made this front group. So the 6th rider not even located in this front group. I hate to say it, but I think it's time to count our A's out. You never know, they may make a big comeback, come from behind, but for now, I think it's going to be tough. G. Caswell is the actual 6th A rider out on the road, 33 seconds behind our standard A pack. Right now, unless they're racing for the team competition, it'd be beneficial for them to just wait up, let him come back to the main group, because without their 6th rider in a pack, we can count them out of the team competition. All right. So, time to jump back in. We'll see if we can catch up with back with our lead B and C group out on course. Move back up through the placings. And I think it's that Jay Anderson. Not sure who that is. A minute there, I thought we had Jorn Anderson out on course. That's one of the fastest Zwifters out there. There we go. I just saw another one of those bugs on Zwift today where a rider was riding in the grass. So, not something that you see every day on Zwift. But moving up through the category here, just doing it the manual way because it's we're having some problems all around today. But here we go. We're in with Pete Campbell from the BRT, and I'm going to switch over to an overhead view here. See if I can get the overhead on these riders. Zoom in a little here, and it looks like there are 6 blue jerseys in this group. I can't be positive. There we go. I can count them now. 6 blue jerseys. That means that our C's still have a chance. Here we go, Pete Campbell from the BRT on the front here, and I do not see our D's yet. I think that maybe our D's have it today. 7 minutes is a big gap to close, and honestly, now that our B's are the leading category out on course right now as well, they were a whole 9 minutes behind the D's. It's a big gap. Yeah, Bryn Griffith says, shame only 16 A's join. Yeah, that's really the downfall of the A's. It's been the downfall of the A's every week, is that they just haven't had the numbers to bring up their speed, really ride as a pack. And as we saw just a couple minutes ago, their 6th rider actually off the back of that group, which is just not the way that you're going to win in the category competition here. All right, before we get down into the finish for the exciting finish here, I do want to remind you to like this video if you're enjoying and subscribe to the Zwift Race Place for more live race coverage, community coaching tips, and general Zwift knowledge. I'm going to see if I can move up through the ranks here because our D's are going to be the category to watch now out on course. D. Wiles from the BRT, let's see where he's placed in the D's. I believe this is still the 2nd group on the road, just getting caught here. Yep, sitting in 12th place overall. All right, so let's keep moving up, see if we can catch up with some D's farther out on course. Here we go, Pisolera sitting in 4th right now, Oskog in 3rd. This is a little bit confusing. Here we go, yeah, Oskog in 4th place. So our 6th D rider on the road, I'm thinking that they might be caught somewhere in the middle. Here we go, it's D Grapey here. This is the group containing your 6th D rider right now. Raymond Connor says D on the landing bridge. Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. They're just past that now. So here we go. D Grapey from the BRT currently sitting in 6th place. So this is the rider that our B's and C's need to catch, and it's going to be close. I think that this one might come down to the line because of how close this is. More C's in Volcano. Some things just going off in the chat here. Right now, it's kind of the calm before the storm. Our B's and C's are holding a steady pace, behind, but it's not over yet. I think if they can just close a little bit coming up through the volcano here, they still have a chance if they can push really hard through the twisties. Once again, I want to apologize for the lagging. We're having a couple of encoder problems again, so hopefully those sort themselves out, and I'll be doing my best to sort that out here on the back end. Craig Christie from the BRT Badgers just got lapped there, it looks like, or falling back through the D's. I'm not exactly sure what happened. All right, D-Raby has now moved into 7th, so F. Gimeno is going to be the rider sitting in 6th now. This is the rider we really need to be watching, and I don't have the gap to the B racers quite yet. Bryn Griffith says it's carnage. Love it. I know it's super exciting right now. What is going to happen when we come down into the finish? This is the moment of truth right here. Can our B's and C's be pushing hard enough? And I know we don't have visuals on them quite well right now. We're taking a look at the D's for now, because this is the group of D riders that needs to stay away for our D's to take it today. F. Jimeno and D. Grapey. Looks like D. Wall's on here as well. Couple riders hovering about 2 seconds off the back of this group. I think it's too late for them. These three just need to push on, work as a group, and if they can, it looks like they're coming up to the bridge right now. If they can stay away, we can see, gonna zoom out on the mini map here, see if we can see that large group of B's and C's. And there we go. I think that's it. Just coming around the corner there, zoom out a little. The gap's still decent sized. It's going to be tough for our D's. They're really going to have to push it, but it's still easily possible. And then from there, it's really a race for second, because our B's don't have this one guaranteed yet. I think they have a stronger sprint than our C's in general. There we go, a group of D's managing to make the catch. Now that they're really working as a group here, it could be majorly beneficial for the D's. And we see that gap does not seem to be coming down, and especially a lot on the mini-map. If you look on the top, you can see it's mostly blue and green. They're just about to make the turn onto the bridge, or onto the bridge here. So they're still a little ways behind. It all comes down to the twisties now. The gap is coming down, but can they close it? It's going to be tough. I want to apologize for those lagging little bits again. Just sorry about that. All right, we're coming out of the tunnel here. This is going to be the moment of truth. I know I said that before, but right now is where it's decided. Can our D's push hard enough through the twisties? We may even see this come down to a 3-category sprint. It'll be D's, C's, and B's, as all of those categories are within just a few seconds of each other. Now the gaps are showing up. We see 13 seconds from the leader of the BC pack to the D's. This is going to be tight. The finish line just coming up in just a couple minutes here. Looks like we're having a couple of issues. All right, I apologize for that. Just see if we can, hopefully we can hold the stream together until the finish here. It's going to be super exciting. D. Grapey from the BRT is pushing hard on the front right now. 3.3 watts per kilograms. They haven't launched into an all-out sprint yet. They're still a little ways out from the finish, but we can see the B's and the C's on the mini-map, and there we go. That's the catch. Our B's have just managed to come through. Our D's have been caught. I repeat, the D's have been caught out on course. Now it's a sprint between the C's and the B's to see which category can do it today. I think our B's are going to have they have the numbers. It's just the probability is just favor of the B's, but don't count your C's out yet. It looks like a lot of them have been dropped from this group, but I think there's still 6 in here, so they still have a chance. The sprint point is coming up in just a minute now. We can't see it there. We can see it on the mini map if we zoom out a little bit. Remember, it's a big climb before the sprint. Big climb, well, a big climb relatively speaking on this course, and then probably the biggest descent out on course, right into the bridge. It's across the bridge into the sprint point, so it's flat, and riders will be coming with a lot of speed. This sprint could benefit the heavier riders, which might move it in favor of the C's just a little bit. I still think that our B's are more likely to win here. There we go. T. Moss from the SDW going hard on this little incline here. He's got about 12 meters. I don't think that he'll be able to hold it, though. He needed more than that to be able to hold it all the way into the sprint. Riders will be pushing hard behind, and we already see DeGrom from the BZR Lions is pushing hard. BZR here, that's the Belgian Zwift riders trying to close down the gap. Looks like the rest of the Bs are in hot pursuit. Sorry about that. Whoops. Here we go, back with the race. Seed Grum from the BZR Alliance. He is now launched into a full-out sprint, 9 watts per kilos, but other riders managing to come around. It was those other sprinters just at the end. Jay Curie from the SDW Wasps is managing to lead it out. He's going to have it, and it looks like there are easily 6 B riders over the line before our Cs. There we go. Our Bs took it today. I thought it was possible. I wasn't sure. It was going to be close. But the Bs, they managed to catch the Cs earlier on. Then it was a tight race between C and B, and the D riders, they managed to close that gap too. So a big congrats to the B riders out on course today. That was a great race, and I have to say, very fun to watch. I don't think I've ever seen such an exciting race out there on Zwift. It really came down to the wire there with the Ds getting caught in the final section of the twisties. All right, here we are jumping in with Kay Gordon. All right, that was an exciting race. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for letting us know what you thought about the race over in the live chat. We're going to be back next week with another iteration of the BRT Thunder and Lightning series. I'm not sure on the course for next week yet, but I'm sure it'll be exciting. I think I've really liked these courses so far. Before you leave, I want to remind you to like this video and subscribe to the Zwift Race Place for more live race coverage, community coaching tips, and general Zwift knowledge. It's been a great race. Thanks for joining us.